We start our podcast. We can't say live from Baton Rouge because it's taped from Baton Rouge. And I spent a little time on LSU's big win on Saturday night against Alabama, Tiger Stadium. We'll spend a couple minutes on that. But first, the 5 things from week 9. All right, number 1. I have this weird thing with the Tennessee Titans. As you know, if you listen to this podcast last season, you would hear me go, this Titans team, I just don't really take them all that seriously. Part of that, to me, was the statistical creation that was Ryan Tannehill. Like, when you looked at a 2-year window of his stats, you could put it in this grouping with other quarterbacks, and then you're like, well, he's not one of those guys, even though the numbers told you that. The touchdown interception ratio was incredible. There's just all these numbers for Tannehill that were really, really good numbers. And they're the 1 seed in the AFC, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, you know what? This is one of the worst 1 seeds that we've seen in a conference in a really long time. They lose at home. Tannehill isn't very good. They lose to Cincinnati, whatever. I mean, you could argue the game could have gone the other way because it looked like Burrow was going to get murdered in that game just because they could not protect him. So I was dismissive of them as a 1 seed. And then when I was looking at some of the Baltimore and Buffalo and Kansas City stuff, I was like, wait, Tennessee is actually the 2 seed right now. Do you realize this? And so going into that game, having it be a primetime game, it was the other, which makes this weird, is that I'm like, I kind of think I like Tennessee now. And I was like, wait, why do I like them more now when there's no statistical reason to like them more this season than last season? And they're trying to do this with Malik Willis at quarterback, who, look, the go route that wasn't caught was a really nice ball. When he was flushed out to his right on the first possession of the second quarter and was getting chased and then threw it kind of like past the sticks was a sick throw. The back shoulder throw to the tight end that he made where it was already like predetermined, but he knew exactly what he wanted and spot perfect. Like, really nice stuff. The Henry QB combo there with what are we going to deal with here? Like, yeah, maybe I like the possibilities, but we're not there yet. And when you look at some of the stats, all right, so defensively last season, they were 6th in points per game allowed, 12th in yards. This year, they're 10th in points per game, 21st in yards. The scoring offense last season was at least middle of the pack, 25 points a game. Now they're like 18.6, which is 24th. So the quarterback part is going to have to work itself out. I'm sitting there looking at the defensive line that we all love. We love when the Henry stuff works. But, Mahomes had the tipped interception off of Kelsey. I swear to God, I feel like Kelsey's great, Hall of Fame, the whole thing. I feel like he has like one bad play that's kind of bad more often than some of the other guys that are great. Every week would be harsh, but maybe it's because I've watched them so many times in comparison to other ones. I'm being unfair to him, but I feel like he's good for like one kind of screw up every few weeks in a game. Whatever, doesn't matter. Kansas City ends up winning this game, and I'm just sitting there going, wait, why do you like them now? Why do you like them better now? Because they're coached better, because of the D-line, because I don't like Tannehill, and now they've gone to Malik. It doesn't really make any sense. Their wins aren't very good. Vegas, the Colts, Commanders, Colts, Texans. So now they're down to a 4 seed. We'll see. Maybe it's their third down because it was the best third down offense against the best third down defense based on conversion ranks. I think Tennessee was something absurd, like 26% conversion against them going into last night's game. It's a number I always really like. But it very, very simple could be that they're the 4 seed and not the 1 seed, and I still hold out some kind of hope for them. All right, number 2, Bills-Jets, classic NFL game. Right? This is the classic NFL game that we talk about all the time. One team comes out, they're clearly better, and then you're sitting there looking up 3 hours into it, and you're like, wait, the Jets could win this thing? And that's exactly what this was. Allen wasn't very good. The second pick that he threw underneath was brutal. It was just, I think that's why he was so upset throughout the game. It just bad pick, man. Just a completely bad pick. And it's tough to watch the Jets and think they're going to be any good because Wilson gets his ass kicked all game long. He's now 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but they're 6-3, and then they're 5 seed. And I do wonder if this is their moment where they go, everything is different now after the Buffalo win, because we know that the offense is really good. They're 5th in opponents' yards per play allowed. They've been a defensive team the whole time through. Wilson went, like a month without throwing a touchdown? And God, I feel like he's getting crushed all the time in these games. Like, it's just a lot for a guy who looks a little slight in the old hips to be taking this kind of punishment. And next thing you know, you look up and like the Jets are going to pull this thing off. And it leaves us here. I don't know. It's going to take a lot for any of us to be moved off of the Bills. But the similarity here is that Miami beat Buffalo in a game that didn't make any sense. It was one of the most statistical, like one of the biggest statistical anomalies in NFL history for a team to do what Buffalo did and still lose that game against a team of what Miami was doing. But you wondered, this is a huge win in division, everybody's favorite team right now, the Buffalo Bills. Does that turn a corner? Is it some mental hurdle for Miami? Well, I don't know if it's the direct correlation, but Miami's been a really good football team so far this season on offense when Tua has played, not missing those other two guys, right? I wonder if it can be the same thing for the Jets. Number 3, watching Kansas City, Tennessee after watching Tampa, LA Rams was like throwing it on to the primetime ABC, ESPN game in college football. Like, it was if you were screwing around watching maybe of a group of 5 conference go at it, and then all of a sudden it's Georgia, Alabama, or whatever, LSU, Alabama. You can say whatever you want. And that's the craziest thing is that that's not really true, because we're talking about Tennessee's offense here, not just Kansas City's, but we have to include Tennessee in that matchup there. I just felt like there were more players running around doing stuff on Sunday night than that slugfest between Tampa Bay and the Rams. These teams are just, every week, man, we're looking at these NFC powers going, is there any sign that a corner can be turned here at some point? And here's the weird part. Tampa wins it as the Rams are up the entire time. And Tampa has had like 4 of these games that have all felt like the same game, where they can't do anything all game, and then they still have some weird chance. Green Bay, week 2, the 2-point conversion doesn't work. They lose that one. Pittsburgh, week 6, almost the exact same thing. Baltimore, week 8, trying to get back into that one. And then here we are again. They have to punt it. They've got the 2 timeouts. They get the ball back. We're like, wait, they're still going to have another chance at this thing? And they pull it off. Brady's ecstatic because I can't imagine how frustrating it is playing for both of these teams. Both O-lines can't do anything. The Rams cannot run the football to save their lives. Some historically low numbers on that one. And staying with that NFC supposed power group, like we're all off of Green Bay at this point, man. They scored 9 points in a loss to Detroit, who's allowing the most points. They're allowing 32 points per game, I think, going into that one in the NFL this season. So all those teams are brutal to watch, which is amazing that all 3 at the same time are such massive disappointments. Let's stay in the NFC with everybody's new favorite player, and that's Justin Fields. Chicago's offense, you want to have your mind blown here a little bit? If you look at yards per play on offense, Chicago's 18th. They're ahead of the Chargers. They're ahead of the Pats. They're ahead of Russell Wilson. They're ahead of Tampa. They're ahead of Tennessee. They're ahead of Arizona. That's not a good sign. 29th. Come on, guys. And then the Rams, who are last in the NFL in yards per play. Fields has put together, well, they're losses, but it's hope, right? That it looks like anything. He ran it 15 times for 178 and a touchdown on top of throwing for 3 touchdowns. So we're talking about 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, a shootout with the Dolphins. That's happening now after what looked like the first 4 weeks of the season. I mean, the San Francisco game I thought was kind of fluky when he had the 2 touchdowns and that win in the rain. But then the next 3 weeks, he didn't do anything. I mean, the numbers are pretty bad. They still found a way to beat Houston, which isn't shocking, but he completed 8 passes. Now we're starting to see a little bit more out of him, and the fact that it's so exciting because he's so physically gifted. It feels like Fields is now the new chance for hope. Another version of a Star Wars movie, right? Justin Fields, a new chance at hope. I don't even know if that title makes any sense, but that's the point, because I don't know that I would have heard it from anybody, but now seeing, because I think almost everybody collectively, like he has the highest sympathy ranking, maybe of any quarterback in the NFL, and now seeing him break some of these plays like he did yesterday, everybody's having a good time. All right, final thing, number 5. The MVP thing's going to get weird. I hope you're ready for it. We suggested that maybe Micah Parsons could be in it, but I knew deep down, like the whole time I'm talking about it, I'm like, it's not really going to happen. It's going to be Josh Allen. Will there be a Josh Allen, not push? To me, Allen is the MVP, but there's going to be a Jalen Hurts push. It's going to be significant. The stats won't be the same, as we know, but there'll be like a weird resume, turning the Eagles around, having to do, like if Allen has a few more screw-up games, it'll depend. We're only halfway through this. We got to see what the entire numbers are. I'm just saying it'll be really weird because Hurts statistically he's just not going to be at where Allen is. He's just not. He's behind him now, so he'd have a lot of work to do. But would it become some kind of conversation? I started seeing some hints at it this weekend where would you look at the record and start going like Hurts is responsible for all this, which, look, the Eagles are really good, but that plus minus giveaway takeaway, they're 3 times better than the second best team. Like they're so far ahead of everybody else. That has as much to do with their success as anything. And he's a big part of that too. But I'm just wondering if they'll be like, the other argument isn't as good as when they go, hey, let's not look at the statistics first. Let's talk about storyline impact first and then get to the other stuff second. I think that will start happening as we head into the second half of the season.